So this last Nintendo Direct was a very interesting Nintendo Direct, but one I definitely really enjoyed. Be sure to check out my full video on my thoughts about that. It was just a really interesting Direct. There were so many weird things there. There were so many random things there that I really felt like it added to the whole spectacle of a Nintendo Direct, and it checked all of the things that I was interested in. Updates on previous games, announcements about new games, and of course some stealth drops that were available during this. But there's one thing that I really took away from this Nintendo Direct, and I've talked a little bit about it in my main video, but I sort of want to explore it a bit more because maybe, just maybe, I was a bit off about the Nintendo Switch Online, because obviously this is something that I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like the lack of communication, the lack of updates for it, it's really just a problematic thing. But during this Direct, there was a lot of focus on online things for the Nintendo Switch. Some things that were just thrown right in your face, some things that were a little bit less obvious that I want to talk about in this video. So was I wrong? Was I wrong about the Nintendo Switch Online service? Maybe, because I'm kind of seeing the bigger picture now. So if this is the first time on your on the channel here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like and share the video. Without any further ado, let's just talk about this. And we're obviously going to start things off with the two things that were just thrust right into our face. And that was, of course, Earthbound Beginnings and Earthbound coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service. And of course, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC. Now, talking about the Earthbound stuff, I think that was very important because we just talked a couple days ago about how it had been over 6 months since we had gotten an update for the NES and the Super NES side of things. So to include Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings, obviously two games that a lot of people really love. I'm not the biggest Earthbound fan in the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't know. it's a little too quirky for me, but I know there's thousands and thousands of people that enjoy these games. So to add these games to the standard service, the $20 service, I felt was a big win for Nintendo. You know, these are games that a lot of people hold near and dear to their heart. They're games that people love. So I get it. That I thought was a very good thing to do because it shows you that, hey, you know, we haven't forgotten about the NES. We haven't forgotten about the Super NES. We're just really slow at bringing out games for it, but definitely a great surprise. And the fact that they were available after that Nintendo Direct was a great thing. And then of course the Mario Kart 8 DLC, and this has gotten a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of people who don't like this. There's a lot of people who wanted the mysterious Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart Crossroads edition featuring Uncle Charles driving around the track. But I never thought that was a possibility because you have to look at it from a business perspective. And from a business perspective, you don't clip something off at the head when it's hot. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still ridiculously hot. It's like you bought a Nintendo Switch. Oh, you're also buying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because everyone loves the game. And I can definitely understand why. It's a great game. You know, the battle mode that they added into it is phenomenal. Makes it so much better than the original release of the game. But adding in 48 new tracks to the game via DLC was a big surprise. It was honestly a very big surprise for me. I thought, well, what are they doing with Mario Kart? Why are they talking about it? And they're like, oh yeah, we're adding in more content to it. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute now. You know, this is actually something very interesting. And it's something that we normally don't really see Nintendo do, supporting games that already have an established base, that are already, you know, released, and giving them more content in them. And the way that they did it, I thought was very, very telling about the Switch's online service because of the fact that, yes, you could buy this for $25 and you're basically getting 8 different tracks available scattered throughout the next really 2 years up until 2023, the end of 2023. Or if you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you get these included in your service. And right then and there, I started to change my tune a little bit because maybe it's not so much about the older stuff. Maybe the focus isn't on stuff like the NES, the Super NES, the N64, the Sega Genesis. I know there's a lot of people that want that to be the focus because, let's be real, those are the only way you could play those games on the system unless you have a hacked system or something like that. But I feel like the expansion pack, including these DLCs for these big games, really makes it a lot more valuable than I was under the impression it was going to be, because that's something I said. It was like, okay, you're doing this Animal Crossing DLC. That doesn't hit for me whatsoever. I don't care. I have not played Animal Crossing. But the fact that you're doing it with a very popular game, and a game that a lot of people love, and a game that a lot of people are going to want to play these 48 additional tracks on, I think that's very telling, because if that's how they're doing things going forward, where the big DLCs for either new games or older games that have already released, and you're going to include it in the expansion pack, now the value goes up tremendously. It goes up tremendously, in my opinion, because you're giving, value that's not available on any other platform. There are no other platforms where it's like, oh, you have the Xbox thing, you have the PlayStation Network, oh, we're going to give you free DLC. That doesn't exist. So for Nintendo to actually find something that doesn't exist on the competition and throw that into the limelight and throw that as a main sort of reason to upgrade to the service, now I'm starting to get it a little bit more. You're not really focused on the older stuff. You're more focused on things like expansive DLC. And let's be real, these DLC packs, they're not really small things. 48 tracks is freaking ridiculous. Like, that's a whole lot of content. So those were the two things that were pretty much just thrust right into our face. And I feel like those are the things that everyone focused on. But beyond that, there's a couple things going on that I feel like are flying under the radar. Nobody's really talking about it. So I kind of want to bring it to your guys' attention, because the year is 2022 and Nintendo is creating more online multiplayer first-party experiences than a company like PlayStation is doing. PlayStation is very focused on the single player experience, the single player deep narrative, which is great. But games like The Last of Us 2, where the hell is the online multiplayer for that game? Like, people were expecting that, especially considering how good Factions was on The Last of Us 1. Yes, I played Factions. I had a lot of fun with it. It was just sort of nitty gritty sort of stuff, but we haven't seen that. But on the Nintendo Switch, we got really two games that are clearly designed with online multiplayer in mind, that are first party titles that I think are going to be super fun. Now, yes, you still have the whole stupid ass voice chat thing. I don't know, man. If they would get rid of that, like, we would be talking a totally different tune here. But the two games in questions are, of course, the new Mario Strikers game and Nintendo Switch Sports. Now, both of these games are obviously multiplayer design games. They're games that are to be played with friends, either near or far. And really, with Super Mario Party, my big problem was, hey, I'm an adult. I don't live near my high school friends anymore. How am I supposed to play with them? Like, I enjoy same room local multiplayer, but you got to be realistic and you got to focus on the more expansive stuff, because people don't live right next to each other anymore. It's if they're grown-ass people. So by including these games to have strong online multiplayer components, I mean, Mario Strikers has like leagues where you can have up to 20 different people. You don't think that Nintendo Switch Sports, like the bowling and the tennis, is going to be absolutely batshit crazy online? Like, it is. Like, this is what me and the homies want to play. Like Halo. We experienced Halo. We're done with Halo. Let's talk about something like this. And I really feel like it goes back to Nintendo upgrading their servers last year, because we saw it with Monster Hunter Rise. That game ran beautifully. That was the first game to utilize the new Nintendo Switch Online servers. And because of that, that multiplayer was flawless. Like, as far as connection was concerned, as far as frame rate was concerned, it ran absolutely flawless from the multiplayer aspect. There was no input lag or anything like that. So I think by upgrading the servers and by sort of focusing on multiplayer online games, and you also got Splatoon 3, like, let's be real, that's going to be a huge online game. It's like, maybe Nintendo does kind of get it. Obviously the way they go about things, I still don't think is the greatest manner, because I feel like they could do so much more. But I'm starting to realize what Nintendo is really focusing on with the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. And I don't necessarily think it's the older stuff. I think the older stuff is just kind of the cherry on the top. But when you look at what they're doing with these games that obviously have large multiplayer components to them, online multiplayer components to them, when you think about games like Splatoon 3, which is going to have a huge online multiplayer, what if they do DLC for that game and that's included in the expansion pack? Like, the possibilities are endless with this, and I'm starting to pick up on it. I'm starting to get it. I might not fully agree with it. I'm obviously an old man. I still want to play old stuff. I'm wearing a NWO t-shirt at 36. I don't care. It's NWO for life. So, deal with it. But I can understand this, you know, sort of focusing on the future, sort of focusing on, you know, games that you have readily available now and adding more content to those games. And if you're an expansion pack member, you're getting this additional stuff included in your membership. So as long as Nintendo can keep doing things like this, as long as they can keep, you know, I guess creating online multiplayer experiences, which is something that, like I said, like we haven't seen stuff like this from Nintendo. And I know what you're saying, well, PlayStation has tons of multiplayer games. Those are third-party games. I'm not talking about third-party games. I'm talking about first-party developed games. And right now, Nintendo actively has more first-party developed multiplayer games than PlayStation does. Look it up. Look it up. I'm a PlayStation 5 owner. Don't act like I'm an idiot. I know what I'm talking about with this. So yeah, you know, Spawnwave made a video, said that, you know, things are changing at Nintendo. I see no changes. I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? Shout out to Tupac. But yeah, no, this is very interesting to me. You know, it's very interesting to see how this is all playing out and what the future is going to contain, because maybe, you know, I shouldn't be so quick to judge, and maybe I should be a little bit more patient. Obviously, it's the video game industry. It's hard to remain patient. And I just feel like if Nintendo would say they're going to do things like this in the future, like, hey, you know, some upcoming games, we're going to give you the DLC for free. And, you know, there's going to be some very surprising announcements added for the NES and SNES and N64 and Genesis Online expansion packs with new games. Like, that's enough. You dangle that carrot in front of us. The fact that you're not dangling a carrot just makes it seem like, you know, it's kind of half-baked. But I'm starting to see the bigger picture with this. So let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share the video. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.